Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Oriana Shea, and I am here today with Chris Spinolio with PNC Bank, and he is one of our trusted preferred lenders, and I have known Chris and worked with Chris for a number of years, and I like having him come on to talk about what he's seeing happening in the market. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Oriana. And we have been working 10 years together, by the way.
Oh my God.
The market right now is, it's another pivoting point right now. We're seeing interest rates climb and we're starting to see opportunity again. And you tell me what you see.
Like it should go in the same sentence.
It does, though.
Interest rates climbing and opportunities?
Yes, 100%. So I'll let you go first. What have you felt in the last, let's say, of January 23 to about a month ago?
What I've seen and what I feel is that what we've considered traditional markets in the past are out the window.
Correct.
You know, in years past, first quarter, January, February is usually our sleeper time. I try to fill the pipeline before the end of the year because I'm expecting things to slow down. You don't know from month to month what's coming. And if you look at the graphs, their spikes are, it's like, oh, look what happened in April. Oh, look what happened in June. It's like, I can't keep up.
It's hard to predict, but it's all about rates. That's what I always tell everyone. We saw a dip in rates at the beginning of January 23. Buyer demand by like January 7th. I was so busy by January 7th to the 15th of pre-quals coming in, people going, I want to get back in, I want to get back in the market. We saw an interest rate decrease. Wasn't a big thing, and it literally lit on fire. We also saw inventory shrink, right? So you had inventory shrink, you had rates come down, and we were back to multiple offers again. I felt like I was in 2021 and every single home was going 100 grand over list price.
Yeah.
And then we saw the beautiful feds keep raising rates.
They're not beautiful.
18 months of putting the foot on the pedal and raising rates. And we saw prime rate start off 18 months ago at 3.5%. Your prime rate today is 8.5%. That's your equity lines, your car loans, and credit cards, you name it, all of that's tied to that. And so now it's been increase, and now buyers' affordability, I don't know if you've seen the chart about the affordability, it is at an all-time low. They cannot afford with the current rates. When everyone else goes left, you go right? And so when everyone else goes, I'm not buying, rates are too high, this is that chance. We saw this last year. So I'll back up. March of 2022, was probably our all-time high in values. We had multiple offers and we had rates move from 3 to 4%, and every buyer came out and goes, I gotta buy before rates continue to go. And then rates went from March of 2022 to October of 2022, they went from 3.5 to 7. And then from October 2022 to December, we had a 90-day window. We probably saw price reductions. We saw about a 10% reduction from the high of March of 2022. They lowered rates in January of 2023. Just a pause when interest rates started to come down. The Fed goes, I think we have inflation under control. And rates went from 7, and we, for a whole week, had 5.875, and the market exploded. And now we're back. We're back to where we were last year, fall. This is where I was like, man, everyone should have bought between October, November, and December because sellers were giving credits. There was price reduction. There was no competition. There was maybe 1 or 2 offers, not 37 offers, and then 100 grand over asking and giving you their firstborn, right? That's where I feel we're walking into.
So with that said, let's talk to the buyers out there that are frustrated. They want to buy a property. They're seeing, that there is some inventory out there, and there's a little bit more inventory coming on the market than what we've seen. So that's good because I've been tracking it, and I think the areas that I was looking at this week, we're at about a 3-month supply right now. Okay?
Makes sense.
Right? So we're still below, an average market is a 6-month supply. So we're still below in terms of inventory, but the buyers that are out there right now that are frustrated, let's talk to them because there are some creative ways, you guys, to get into property right now. And what I really, really, really want to drive home is you need to not focus on the rate, focus on the payment. What can you afford at a payment that is workable for you to get you into the market right now? That's the key, that's the strategy. because the properties right now, I'm telling you, what he is saying is dead on. As soon as those rates creep down even a quarter to 0.5%, you are going to be competing, and that competition is going to fuel the prices right back up. There's a window right now.
100% agree with you. I feel like we're gonna have a 90-day window again, and if we have a Fed pause in rates, which there's a lot of talk about it, we are gonna see lower interest rates shortly, and you're gonna have a gangbuster of people come back out again. And so the hardest part, and you nailed this, is, you know, when people go, oh, what's the rate? And you say it's 6.875, they go, oh my gosh, I missed 3.25, right? And I always go back to people and say, can you afford the payment?
Yeah.
If you can afford the payment, you love the home, you're gonna live there for the next 10 years, what does it matter? Because if you would have backed up 10 years ago and told people what the prices were and what their rate was and what their payment was 10 years ago, they would have said, oh my gosh, these homes are still out of control, right? Well, they're pretty happy that they bought 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
If you bought 3 years ago, you're pretty happy. You bought in March of 2022, you're pretty happy. So it's been a great run. And so creatively, what I see as the best is doing what's called a 2-1 buy down. We'll geek out a little bit here, but I'm gonna walk you through. If you bought an $800,000 house and you went and asked the seller for 2%, we'll call it $16,000 to buy down your rate, you probably go from 6.875 to 6.625 and save $100 a month. It's not really worth it. What you could do is a 2-1 buy down. So let's just say your rate's 6.875 today. The first year, 12 payments, it's 2% lower. So you would be looking at.
That's huge.
Yes. So you
And
go.
a lot can happen in a year.
A lot can happen in a year, and we're gonna go back to that. But let's say you start at 6.875 and we go 2%. That's actually 4.875 for 1 year. Second year comes around, we go to 5.875. Third year, you're at 6.875. So that credit, we'll use that $16,000 credit. It goes into what we call an impound account. That money's yours, even though the seller gave it to you. You get to put it in a little impound account. They use that money every month to subsidize a mortgage payment. Fast forward, let's say rates drop in 6 months. They go from 6.875 to 5.25. And you're still at 4.875. I would probably tell you to refinance. But let's say you have, at that $16,000, you have 10 grand in that impound account. That money's yours. You can use it to help pay for closing costs, or you just use it to do a principal reduction on the balance you owe.
That's huge. Okay, this is why I really like Chris, because he's very creative about this stuff. And this is what I'm talking about, you guys. There's opportunities in the market. Here's where the real estate strategy should come in. There's homes that are sitting right now. There's homes that are taking too long to adjust to the right price. Those are properties that your agent can potentially negotiate a 2-1 buy down on. Those sellers need to move. They're still on the market. So there's strategies out there, and this is why I keep saying who you work with absolutely matters. You have to find your opportunities and your strategies right now, and this is huge.
So I'm gonna give you a story. I had a client who purchased in October. It was probably the highest that we've seen rates. They were at 7. They put 20% down, bought a house, closed in October. We had a small window in January where it dropped all the way to 5.875. Shot him an email and said, I'm locking you in right now. I go, we're gonna refinance this. He goes, I've only made 1 payment. I go, we don't care. Like, there's no prepay, there's nothing there. And they're like, really, is this true? And I'm like, yes. And it was the only refinance I did all year. Right? But it was that window of that like 90-day opportunity. So my first thing I said today, opportunity. There's gonna be opportunity. The other thing, I had other buyers looking, and I actually told them, it was the same situation, bought in that window. And I said, stop going after the pretty homes. Go after the home that doesn't look as pretty.
Yeah.
And so they came back to me and they go, you know, we looked at this home online. It was ugly, but we went inside and we realized it was just the kitchen. And they ended up buying it. Praised $50,000 more for that house. They had their budget perfect. As soon as they closed, they had a kitchen remodel, sent me pictures later, and they were like, thank you for telling me that. And I think they did that whole kitchen remodel, and it was small, for like $18,000. What do you think about that?
I've got a blog coming out on the small homes are back. Some buyers get their heads wrapped around the dream home and what they have to have. Look for the best 4 walls in the best location that you can afford. You can make it your own over time. the perfect home doesn't exist. You're buying somebody else's dream home. So look for the best four walls that you can make your home for the next few years. Buy the property that is going to accumulate the most amount of equity over the next few years. Then you sell that and move
on.
As soon as those rates come down, prices are going to shoot up, and you're not going to be able to keep up with it. So these are creative financing tips that I think are brilliant to help you guys get into a home that you can afford.
It's all about payment. If you can afford the payment, you move in. And anyone out there, and I'm gonna give you guys quick math because I'm a geek. So I'm paying $3,000 a month for rent. That's $36,000 a year. In 3 years, that is insane. You paid $100,000 in rent in 3 years. That blows my mind that people are like, I'm just gonna keep renting. Now listen, if you live at the beach and you're in rent control and you have a 1 bedroom and it's $1,000 a month, stay there forever.
Stay there.
Right? But let's say values drop. Let's talk about that. Let's say you bought and we see a 5-10% decrease in home values. What happens to you? The answer is nothing. So everyone talks about, oh, I'm afraid to buy at the top of the market and we're gonna see a crash. My advice would be, keep making your payment. You'd be totally fine. As long as you can afford your payment, who cares what Zillow tells you or Redfin tells you or what your brother, sister tell you what your home's worth? I tell people, don't pay attention to that stuff. I owned homes between 2005, 6, 7, and 8. I didn't panic. I didn't sell. The primary home that I lived in dropped 50%. 50%. But my payment was like $2,000 and rent was probably $1,500. And I was like, well, it's whatever. And so I just stayed there. I didn't listen to everyone else. I didn't foreclose. I didn't strategically try to do a short sell or anything like that. I was like, I'm just gonna stay here. And I mean, I'll just die in this place, right? And I was super young, right? 20 years ago. I'm so glad I didn't sell. I saw everyone else panic and hit the red button. And it wasn't because they lost jobs. It wasn't because things like that. It was strategic foreclosure, strategic short sales. They're like, oh, my neighbor just sold and I just lost all this equity in my house. Every single person that got foreclosed on a short sale between 2006 and 2009 regrets it. Now, if something happened and they lost their job and they couldn't afford it, I totally get that. But there was a lot that didn't, and they were just like, and they bailed because of the news and the media. And so that's why I always tell everyone, I go, when I do a consultation, I go, can you afford this? How do you feel, right? And we're a bank. We're not going to give you a loan that you can't qualify for. Do you know how hard it is to get a loan?
That's the other thing I do want to say. To your credit, you don't try to talk them up, even if they can qualify for a lot more, because we both know that they're going to resent us if we talk them into a higher, mortgage payment than they really want to pay.
Right.
Look. There's a combination of things at play here. The bottom line is this: you have opportunities right now. While the interest rates aren't pretty, there are still opportunities, and there are still a lot of reasons why it does make sense to buy right now.
Yeah.
So
I
with
agree.
that, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
That's it for our market update, guys. Thanks for watching. If you have questions or comments for Chris, please comment down below. And as always, please like or subscribe. And we will be back with a future episode in the near future. Okay, bye.
Bye.